my name's Alice, and Tracy just asked me to give a little video about how I managed to do placement as an external student. I was living in Darwin with a toddler, and I was pregnant, and we were in the Army. We had to move at the end of the placement, so there was a lot going on for me personally, and a lot of organization that had to go into getting placement done. I found some of the challenges with being away from the coordinators, being there. They didn't have quite the same point of reference as far as like where things were in Darwin, or kind of like I knew Darwin and they didn't necessarily always know Darwin. It wasn't a huge issue because Darwin's not that spread out, so it didn't end up being a big deal. But I guess that could be a challenge if you were in somewhere very spread out. It's a challenge I anticipate having potentially in my next placement, because we'll be in Brisbane, which is very spread out. Coordinating check-ins could also be a challenge. My supervisor was really good and really prioritized my placement, and so the check-ins with Tracy were extremely important to her, and she made sure that they happened even though she was busy. But that could be a challenge if your supervisor wasn't as flexible, I guess. For me, the biggest challenge was childcare. It was, a chicken and the egg kind of thing. I had to have dates for placement, to have dates for childcare, then I had to have dates for childcare to have dates for placement. It was kind of, there were a lot of phone calls and waiting lists and organization, yeah. There's also money, there's no money coming in when you're in placement, but childcare costs a lot. So fortunately we were just in a place where that was possible, and I'm grateful for that. I'm not sure how else I'm not sure how we're going to do it even the second time when we have 2 kids in childcare. That's a huge challenge. And being overwhelmed, really, that was, I think, next to childcare, that was my biggest thing. There was so much, and there were certain things that had to be done before other things could be done, and it was this big puzzle of things that had to be done. And so I ended up coping by having lists. For months before placement, there were just lists. There was a stack of paper this tall by the end of pieces of paper that had lists on them. Everything that had to be done that day, the calls that had to be made, and the wait lists that had to be done, and the paperwork that had to be sent, and all of this stuff. And the lists helped me to stay not so overwhelmed. I would definitely recommend the list, because my biggest tip would be to be organized. Don't leave stuff to the last minute, and be organized. Be organized. Be organized. That's the biggest tip that I have for doing placement while you're an external student. Organization.